Hey, I'm going to show you how to make a super simple habit tracker in Notion in just a few minutes. So the first thing we're going to do is click on this database button on the very bottom here. That's going to allow us to create a new database, and we're going to click on new empty database. We're going to add a title here, and in this case we're making a habit tracker. Perfect. We're going to rename name and call that day. This is going to be like a daily habit tracker. You can imagine you're tracking things like running, meditation, reading, stuff like that, and it's going to be on a daily basis. Cool. So speaking of habits, why don't we do that now? We're going to press the plus button here and create a checkbox property, just like that. And this checkbox property is just going to be whatever habit you're going to be checking off or not checking. So in this case, we said things like running, and I can create a new one just like that, type up checkbox. And now we also said meditation is another, and maybe we'll add one more, and this is going to be something like, let's say, reading. So this looks good. I think we can make it look a little bit nicer if we add some custom icons here. So we can change the property icons like running to maybe something like this. And then for meditation, maybe we want something like a flower. And then for reading, a book, I think makes sense. Nice. And we can add an entry here to the database to see what this could look like. So in this case, you see the checkboxes just like this. And I think this looks cool, but maybe if we were to just double click here to make it super compact, that will give it a more kind of streamlined look. Awesome. Now we can fill out something like day here. So we can say like at today. Perfect. And you can imagine tomorrow you can say at today, and this will automatically change as it's relative. Cool. This is interesting. I think one last step would be maybe getting like a progress bar to see how you're doing. So I can click on the plus button here to do that. And we're going to do that by using a formula property. The formula property allows you to perform calculations on the row itself. So I can get things like these properties or the name and do whatever I want to them. In this case, what I'm interested in is actually just getting the sum of all of these check boxes. So did I check off 1, 2, 3, 0, and then dividing them by the number of habits, in this case 3, because I want to calculate the progress. I want to see if I got 2 out of 3 done, 1 out of 3 done, all of them done. And the way we can do that is actually just by clicking on something like running here. You can see we have the check mark. The problem is this is like a Boolean value. It's a true or false. We need to turn it into a number. So to turn it into a number is pretty straightforward. You just say to number, and just like that, you can see the number is 1, and that's because it's check marked. So we can kind of copy this and do the same thing for something like meditation, and then we can do it again for reading. Perfect. And I can save that, and we're not done just yet, but just for the sake of demonstration, you can see that this formula is working. So if nothing's checkmarked, you see 0. If 1 is checkmarked, you see 1, 2 is 2, and 3 is 3. The last piece of the puzzle here is actually getting that percentage. And the way we do that is actually just by wrapping this all in parentheses like this, and we can just divide by 3. And what that's going to allow us to do is we get a number like 1, but if we have 2 out of the 3, we get 0.66667, 0.333 repeating. Now, of course, we want to kind of restrict the decimals here, and the way we can do that is just by clicking on the formula, edit property, and instead of a number, we want to do a percent. Now, let's change the decimal places to be something like 0, so it's super clean. And just like that, we have a nice little habit tracker, and we can take it one step further by doing something like a progress bar. And I think this kind of gamifies it a little bit because you can see how you're doing throughout the day. And I think one last thing we can do to make it like super polished and tidy is instead of using a table view, we can maybe do a gallery view. So we'll create a new view here in our database. We'll click on gallery. And then for card preview, we're going to make this none. We'll make the card size small. We'll go back here, click on the 3 dots again. And for properties, I want to see meditation, reading, running, and of course our formula as well. And as you can see, we can check mark these, and we have this nice little kind of internal tool, little habit tracker template that we made here. And this is super useful because now we can do things like automations. So every day at 9 a.m., create a new card with the new date, and we can check mark it as we go.